All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to talk about the Fidelity MSCI Energy Index ETF. It is important to know that this ETF will follow the performance of the MSCI USA IMI Energy Index, investing at least 80% of its assets of FENY into this underlying index. So let's go to that fund and let's just take a quick look and compare the comparison. So I want you guys to understand when you buy FENY, this is the index that it is following. So it is designed to capture the large, mid, and small cap segments of the U.S. equities, but they're all classified in the energy sector as per the Global Industry Classification Standard GICS. All right, so I put on the left side, this is FENY, and we're going to compare it to MSCI, that it's tracking the index on the right side. So as you can see on the left side, which is FENY, it makes up top 10 of these companies make up 65%. So we can compare right here and let's see the percentages. So ExxonMobil is part of FENY about 21.96, where MSCI, the index fund, is 22%, so very close. Chevron is 14.53%. Chevron is firing to the T, 14.53%. Coconut Phillips, you could see it's 7.1 for the MSCI, whereas FENY has 7.05, so only a 0.05 difference. Then you have Schlumberger, which is 3.6%, and as you can see, they're very close together, 3.62%. So I just wanted you to see this, take a snapshot if you need, but they are pretty much identical. At 65% of these top 10 companies follow to the T. So MSCI is a little bit higher at 65.55, where FENY is 65.19%. So as you can see, it is tracking the underlying index very well, and that's important when you're going to buy an index fund and you're trying to track something. All right, so now let's review FENY in more detail. First, let's look at the overview. As you can see, it is $25.75 a share right now. The expense ratio, which everybody always wants to know, is 0.084%, which is excellent, so very low. The net assets is 1.67 billion, so there's definitely a lot of interest in this. And let's look at the chart real quick. Let's bring up the max. Looking at the max chart, this was created in 2013, where it opened up at $25. And if you were to invest in this, you pretty much were negative all the way for 7 years investing in this from 2013, where it went as low as $7. And then now it's at highs of $25. Now the peak high performance is around $29, $30. So definitely keep an eye on that it is finally recovered. But just looking at the 5-year period, I mean, in the last 5 years, it has definitely gone on from $7 up to $25. So this would have had to been waiting for this to sell off first. Looking at the analyst rating, you have 4 stars out of 5. The 10-year rating, which is 4 stars out of 5. We reviewed the top 10 holdings here, so let's get more in detail on the remaining holdings. This is what you're investing in. So when you buy FENY, you are buying a total of 120 energy companies. But just realize that ExxonMobil makes up almost 22% of this fund. Chevron, which is the next one, makes up 14%. So very heavily invested in Exxon and Chevron. Those are your big dogs. And then I'll just scroll through this just so you can see, but take a snapshot or just type in FENY on Fidelity and you can see that what's interesting is once you get past like 30 of the companies, you can see they're only worth less than 1% of the fund. So these funds are very small. That's your small cap, that's your mid cap. Whereas if you'll notice, your large cap makes up huge amounts of the portfolio. So under the composition, we review the composition. We know now that it's a passively managed, it's a sector equity and only energy. But what I really want to show you is that look at the geographic exposure. North America makes up 99% of this fund. And then the market capitalization, like we were talking about with the large caps, you can see giant 36.77%, large cap 26%. Here's your mid cap, the medium, and your small. So just realize that your medium, your small and mid cap are making up about 35% of this fund, whereas the rest of the 65% is all in this large growth value companies. And that's your ExxonMobil, that's your Chevron, that's your Coconut Phillips. So this is very heavy in big, large cap companies that own billions of dollars. and the industry is oil, gas, consumable fuels, energy equipment, services. So under distribution and expenses, you can see that the distribution yield is 3.25%. In my opinion, that's very attractive. You're getting a 3% dividend yield every single year. That gets paid out quarterly, which means it gets paid out in March, June, September, and December, with that expense ratio at 0.08. And just for you, those that don't know, I just want to bring up the expense ratio, as you can see right here. And what expense ratio means is it provides the annual percentage of an ETP's assets paid out in expenses. This is including management, transfer agent, and other fees. So this is just the fees that you were paying to own this ETF. Ratings and analysis, we reviewed, we have the 4 stars over, but the short, mid, and long-term sentiment are strong for FENY. That's the sentiment right now. Now reviewing the performance and risk, let's just go down to the hypothetical growth here. 2013, if you were to hold this for 10 years, you did make money, but remember, you went from $10,000 investment down to about $4,000 investment, back up to about $14,000. So it's definitely been a rocky road. And looking at the life of this fund, not the best, 2.97% compared to the benchmark of MSCI at 8%. So it's definitely something to look into, and you're definitely relying on that dividend of 3% over time to, help the life of the fund. So under comparisons, you can see that this is the Fidelity offered FENY because you can see the symbol right here. Just comparing it against the other sector equities, you have Vanguard, you have iShares, you have Energy Select, the Spider XLE, and then you have Invesco S&P 500. The only one that really compares close to, in my opinion, is the Energy Select Spider, which is 0.09%, which we can make a video on that. Let me know, just write it in the comment section below if you want to see any of these symbols broken down. I'll definitely make a video on it. Let's go under key statistics, because I think it's good just to see. When you go under the key statistics, we know FENY is an ETF, but I like to compare it. The key statistics is great for the portfolio fundamentals. You can compare it to the sector median. So the expense ratio of FENY is 0.08% compared to 0.5%. So you're paying a much lower expense ratio compared to the median of 0.5% and 0.51%. Now look at the dividend. The dividend says 2.84%, but this must not be updated because it's paying 3.25%, as we just reviewed earlier, where the sector median pays an average of 1.61%. So definitely there are some benefits to owning FENY, to that dividend, to that low expense ratio, and you're tracking the MSCI. So you're getting all the bang for your buck and a higher dividend. All right, guys, so just to quickly review, we're looking at the chart of FENY. As you can see, just looking at the RSI, we're looking at the max on the chart right now. RSI is trading at 63 right now, so it's definitely elevated right now. It's at highs, but it doesn't mean that you can't invest in it. I mean, this would be more of a dollar cost average. I just want you to be aware we have a big concentration risk in ExxonMobil and Chevron, which was at 22% and 14% of this entire fund. So that makes up almost 35-40%. So you just have to be very careful. And as you can see, this can move. This can go really down. I went down from $28 all the way down to $7. So when you invest in these types of ETFs, it's always better to dollar cost average, buy over time, and just go slow with it. Don't just massive dump all of your money into it at one price and then it starts to sell off and then you can't add to it. So definitely take it slow with this type of fund. And tell me what you think about it. What's your overall thoughts? Do you think it's a good ETF to invest in long term? And leave some comments in the section below. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in this long. This is my channel, Trading Simplified. You can see it by the icon on the top right. This is one of my playlists that I have for long-term investments, and I definitely think it's worth checking out. I have where to invest your hard-earned money. I have electric vehicle ETFs, the Fidelity Large Cap Growth Index ETF, the Fidelity Real Estate FSRNX, the Fidelity FZROX, the Total Market. So I try to review a bunch of these index funds just so you guys can get a good idea. One of my favorite ETFs, DJIA, that tracks the Dow Jones. That's definitely worth checking out. And my more popular videos, the semiconductors, FSELX. There's plenty on here. What dividends, best dividends, comparing different ones, DGRO versus VIG or SCHD, or SMH, semiconductors, or the small cap index, FSSNX. definitely check these out. It's under my playlist under long-term investments. You will definitely get a good mix of ETFs that I think could be potentially good long-term investments.